Welcome back, everybody. It's MrScaryMuffin, and we're back with Thoughts, Talks, and TF2. I was actually really tempted to actually use a game that wasn't TF2 for this. I was thinking of putting up a Hawken game, and it would have been kind of interesting because I know some people were asking for a little bit more Hawken. Um, and I haven't done anything since the second video because I haven't actually been playing too much, but I was tempted to try a couple. And one of the reasons why that was is because this week's topic was a revisit to the Evergreen game, or at least my idea of what makes a game good for a really long time. If you didn't tune into that first episode, basically the Evergreen formula that I proposed was a game that had multiplayer, a game that had moments that you feel obligated to share, and a game that is modified, upgraded several times. My wife's making faces at me. Um, so, yeah, basically, I was looking at things like TF2, Minecraft, things that have moments that you want to share with people. TF2 is really good at that because every time you die, you get that kill cam. You also have these revenges and dominations, and you have these crits, random crits. A lot of things that encourages and creates these moments of gameplay that makes you go, whoa, and you go, hey man, did you see that? Right? In Minecraft, you have these big builds, you have these encounters that, you just barely survive, that kind of stuff. Both games also get constantly upgraded, constantly modified. You get new weapons, you get new mechanics in Minecraft, and of course, multiplayer is in there as well. Multiplayer, I think, is one of the biggest part of making a game evergreen. For example, I've been playing FTL Faster Than Light. You guys might be watching on my channel, and FTL is strictly a single-player game. And after playing through the game once or twice, beating it once or twice, sure, there's achievements to unlock, there's new ships to unlock, that kind of stuff, but you don't feel like you want to unlock all of them. Anyways, you may if you're a OCD completionist kind of guy, then you might go through all that, but that's not true for everybody. And the fact that it's a single player game makes it so that people will be playing it a little bit. Once they're done with it, they're done with it. There's no real evergreen idea of it. It's not going to always be there. But can you imagine Faster Than Light with these elements thrown into it? Imagine multiplayer so that you can go player versus player battles, right, with your ship, your crew kind of thing, and you go against another player or even have a massive battle. Can you imagine modifications, new updates coming out, new weapons, new ships, new missions? Like, you don't have to save the galaxy anymore. Here's a new mission you can try out. It's like a shorter version of whatever, right? Can you imagine other than, well, I guess FTL already has moments, right? But if you add those two other things that FTL is kind of missing, it won't necessarily make, because FTL is a really good game, it won't make a great game, stupendous, but it will make it a little bit more interesting. And the idea is that it doesn't make a bad game good, but in so much as make something that you want to play for longer, right? And the fact that a game doesn't have these things doesn't mean the game is bad either. It just means that the game's not going to be a game you play forever. And that's my idea of the evergreen game. Not all good games are evergreen, and not every evergreen is a good game, so to speak. But recently, last week, I was talking about rage quitting, and people brought up games such as Dota. People brought up games such as WoW, even. And how basically these games have what I call basically it has some investment in it. You have to invest your time. And WoW is really bad for this because you can spend an hour, 2 hours waiting for waiting for a group to get together, to set up, get organized, and then you actually play. I used to play a game called Puzzle Pirates with my wife, and instead of instances, we have pillages where we go scour the seas looking for little people to attack and then steal from their boats, that kind of stuff. They also have like Atlantis, where you go to Atlantis and you shoot down monsters, and you go to the Citadel and you fight the Atlanteans, kind of stuff, right? But in order to get organized, you have to find about 60 people to hop on your ship. 60 people to get organized all together. If those of you guys who have been trying to organize things like we've been trying to organize an Awesome Knots tournament, it's hard enough to get 6 people, 3 people on each team to get organized and find a time to play with each other, right? I mean, a lot of time you'll be relying on strangers, and that's fine, but even then, you're not guaranteed a good time, and nothing hurts more than starting to play, waiting 2 hours to get organized, waiting 2 hours for 60 people to show up on your boat, and then going off and then finding out after a battle or two, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes of gameplay, that, you know, this group is not that great. But you don't want to go to a different group, right? You're already invested in this instance. You're already invested in this game session. You're already invested in this match. You're already invested on this pillage. And this is where I started thinking, like, well, maybe I need to expand the Evergreen formula. Maybe I need to put in, drop out as an element. And drop in, drop out pretty much sums up what I'm talking about. It's basically a game where you can come in at any time, you can leave at any time, and you don't feel guilty about it. It doesn't really change that much, right? Namely, drop in, drop out pretty much only applies to FPS games like Counter-Strike, like TF2. Namely, it only applies to fighting games where it's a 1v1 anyways, and the matches don't last that long. It can't really apply to things like WoW. It can't really apply to things like Dota, where you essentially have to start a match, get your guys together, and then you have to play the whole thing, right? But in my mind, Dota 2 is an evergreen game, I think. I mean, people are still playing Dota, right? In my mind, Starcraft is an evergreen game, and people are still playing Starcraft, so it must be true. Starcraft is a very good example of a evergreen game. Really, I kill one spy and another spy comes. Anyways, Starcraft is an example of a game that is an evergreen. It's been around since 1997. People played it all the way until Starcraft 2 came out, right? Even when Warcraft 3 came out, they still continue playing Starcraft. But definitely it is not a drop-in, drop-out game. And so I really can't find myself adding to it. It will, to me, I guess, or people with short attention spans or little patience, drop-in, drop-out games are fine for them, and it may be in their formula for a game that they would like to play for a really, really long time. And for people who have little patience, if you find yourself getting, really impatient when you're playing Dota or something like that, and you can't leave because, rage quitting, all that kind of stuff, maybe you need to find a game that is a drop-in, drop-out type game. Maybe you need to go play Lego Harry Potter, which is the best of all the Lego games out there, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely, drop-in, drop-out is an interesting idea for an evergreen formula, but I don't think it quite applies. I don't know if anybody else has any other elements that they can imagine that would fit in the evergreen formula. And again, evergreen doesn't mean a game is super good. It means the game is playable over a really, really long time. One might argue something like Bejeweled, maybe even, is an evergreen game, but to me, Bejeweled is missing a few things. I mean, namely multiplayer and moments you can share. Some modifications, I guess, have come out with each Bejeweled iteration, and most importantly, it's kind of free. The reason why I was thinking about playing Hawken in this is because Hawken is a game that seems to fit the evergreen formula, and yet I find myself, I'm not playing it that much anymore. I no longer feel like I want to play it, and I was wondering why. What is missing out of this game? I feel like Hawken has the evergreen moments. It has things that I'm like, okay guys, this is kind of cool, look at me like shoot down these guys. One of the best times I had in Hawken was when like 5 people would rush me one after another, and I didn't have time to heal, and so I would just take out one guy, go another guy one-on-one. My guns are overheating, but I still managed to kill 5 people in a row, and afterwards I finally get a little break, and I'm just like, whoa, that was intense. And So moments are there. There are multiplayer, that's for sure. It even has drop in, drop out. Um, so the only last thing would be modifications, constant updates, and Hawken seems to have that because you have all these different mechs, you have all these different upgrades, right? As you play, you unlock more upgrades. You gain prestige, similar to how Awesome Knots works as well. And gaining prestige to unlock things is not a bad thing. However, when it comes to paying for an upgrade, paying for a new mech, I think people are a little bit more hesitant to enjoy the game, especially when other people have been getting it and, you know, you yourself don't have it. Like other people have these crazy mechs with all these crazy upgrades, and you're losing through no real fault of your own. You can't, other than, you know, not spending the monies. And I feel that may or may not ruin Hawken. There's a couple other problems with Hawken, in my mind, including the fact that you can't really communicate with the community. So the multiplayer aspect there is strictly only in the game. I have a hard time finding chat, like people aren't using the voice chat that much. I mean, there is a really big international crowd in Hawken, so a lot of times there's a language barrier as well. But that also means that I'm not getting region matched, and lag is an issue. So the multiplayer aspect seems to be there, but it's not 100%. It's not quite there. And those are things that are stopping Hawken from being an evergreen game. And as a free-to-play game, you kind of want it to be evergreen. You kind of want people to pick it up and really enjoy the game and want to continue playing it for a really, really long time, so that eventually they will, you know what, I'll put in some cash, right? Just like people when they're playing TF2, and you're like, hey, it doesn't hurt to throw in 20 bucks because I've been playing this game for 2 years. It's like I bought another game, right? Spend like a little bit of cash here, a little bit of cash there. It's not a big deal to them. And that's ideally if you are on a free-to-pay with microtransactions business model. That is the kind of thing that you want to see. And oh, I know what's happening here. 1 spy, 2 spy. Oh, spy teamwork. You gotta hate it. Anyways, so that's that for today. Just talking about the Evergreen model a little bit more, because I really like this idea of an Evergreen game, and I really would like to find more games like this, more examples of things being evergreen. If you guys have a game that you think is fits the bill of this evergreen model, and ideally for me, I like drop in, drop out as well in my formula. So if you guys can think of something like that, let me know in the comments below, and I will try checking that out. And it doesn't hurt if it is a free-to-play game as well, because it helps my wallet a little bit there. But yeah, so I would like to check out some more stuff, and then we'll gauge these things on whether they are an evergreen or not as well, and that will be that as we take a look at it. It won't necessarily be a straight up review. Oh, poor Red Guard. It won't be a straight up review or anything like that, because like I said before, an evergreen game doesn't necessarily mean a game is good or bad. Anyways, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. My name is MrScaryMuffin. I'll see you guys next time. Have a nice day. Ciao.